Between winter and the school year, I almost forget just how much fun I have in my garden. I love planting seeds, I love experimenting, and I just love getting my hands into that soil and seeing my garden transform from something quite bare into something that looks really spectacular. Today, I want to take you guys along with me on a very sunny day for a change in the garden. Let's get a few different jobs done. Let's finally tackle some plantings and also just see what's changing and what's happening here on our homestead.
So here I have some natives planted. I had them in water for a few days, and these are all the ones who kept their green leaves. So now I've put them in some soil. And then these are all of my tomato seedlings. You can see there's some with a few really big true leaves, which I will probably plant out today. This is some asparagus grown from seed, which is really funky, and a few like zucchini plants and possibly cucumber. Not sure. I always say that I'm cautious to grow from seedlings because I end up killing them, and yet every year I still end up planting some. But I think hopefully this year it will be a good idea. I can't wait to come into my garden soon and start planting things. I really need to harvest that leek, you guys. Oh, one little chook is out. Leave it. Leave it. Okay. Meat chickens had a much more successful night last night. Looking good. Let's give them some food. Ready, guys? I'm not sure if I showed you guys, but I planted some flowers here. I think I've got some amaranth, possibly here, and then some cornflower or some everlasting daisies. And while I'm here, we might as well give you an update on what's growing or not growing in the garden and harvest what we can. You can see the thing that's growing the best in the garden is the garlic, which is getting massive. I'm really excited for that. There are onions transplanted amongst that garlic, which are still pretty small, so I'm not sure what's going on with them. More garlic back there. And then I've got my brassicas finally doing things. So let's go a little closer to them. You can see this one's full of leaves, which are edible and taste like collards, I now found out. So I'm really excited to eat those in some stir fries. I've already harvested most of the broccolinis. And so we've got these little shoots still coming off, which are really delicious. And so is the stem. So I highly recommend just eating the whole plant. Throughout here, I've also planted, I think, radishes, or they could be, what are those things called? Robin planted them and then she told me about them and I tried them out. Kohlrabi. So they could be either radishes or kohlrabi. These kind of look like radishes though. You see there. And then there's some new lettuces that I think have popped up from where I had cut off at the root. This bed is full of onions, so that's really exciting because they're doing really well. My coriander's almost going to seed. You can see how when the leaves go sparse like this, it's an indicator that it's going to go to seed unless you do something. And I'll just break it all off, and that will be enough for the corianders to start shooting up again, and then I can do something with all of this. Okay, so this is kind of cool. This is a leek that I had harvested and then I cut it at the base and left it in, and you can see a new one now coming up and is already getting massive. I've talked about it on our Earthly Roots podcast last episode, but leeks are super easy to grow again just by leaving them in the ground. And so I'm really going to be experimenting with just seeing how far I can take it, how long I can keep them there, and what effect that has on flavour. So I'll keep you updated as I find out more. Also, we're not going to talk about that at the back. That's a failed project.
Surprisingly, the other garden is actually doing a little better than this one at the moment. So I'll go up there and show you that as well. This garden bed's doing well with the peas. You can see they've all sprouted. There's little carrots too, all over. And then the beautiful flowers. Oh. Quick update on my banana passion fruit. It's getting new flowers, and the passion fruits that were on there are still quite green. So hopefully they'll start turning yellow soon. I guess we'll see. Garden bed has so many little seedlings, which I think might be the cherry tomatoes that grew really well last season. So I'll be transplanting those possibly. This back here will be my new tomato growing area. I mean, I'm going to have tomatoes everywhere, but I think those cherry tomatoes, I'll transplant them over here. And so I'm going to have tomatoes on the trellis. I'm probably going to have like eggplant or something at the front. And then at the back, I've got flowers sown. So that's going to look really beautiful. I did experiment with leaving some of my carrots in so that they can self-seed. So that's what's happening there. And I've got another one back there. Transplanted some oregano from like the garden area over there. It was growing wild. So I put it in here because I'd love it to be a ground cover. Rhubarb is bouncing off again. And I think I've got, again, either kohlrabi or radishes planted here. We'll see how they go. I love capturing my bees on the flowers. These are all our limes. It looks like heaps of them are going to come back again. I gave this a prune last season and it's doing really well. The secret with citrus trees is to try leave a lot of air and room in the middle and have your tree come out like a cup. That helps the tree to kind of breathe, to have lots of oxygen go through it and keeps it a lot healthier. When you're also pruning the branches, I've noticed that if there's too many branches coming off one like this one, then it's in your best interest again to prune to one really strong branch, and that way it can sustain and it can hold more healthy lemons as opposed to kind of weakening your tree and sagging it. So yeah, these citrus trees are doing really well. I can already see they're ready for another prune soon. Oh yes, and the nasturtiums this year are just going crazy. I'm just going to have them kind of go around the garden bed because I can quite easily walk through them. I'm definitely going to harvest a lot of the flowers this year to make a syrup. Robin has a really great recipe on her channel, The Nature Patch, so I'm probably going to follow that. I'm also going to harvest the little pods and actually grind them up into a paste, maybe preserve it or do something with it, whether we have it fresh or turn it into a pesto even. So I'm excited to try that out. And I'm going to experiment with adding more of the leaves into our salads because spinach and lettuce grows okay here while this grows amazing. So I might as well use what's growing well. Now I think I've done enough talking, so I'm going to get to some of my jobs today. I'm going to start with going through the compost that's been left behind from the meat chickens. So going through their brooder, taking all of that and putting it on our compost pile. Look at how that's starting to break down. Isn't that amazing? One more job that I will be doing today, and that is to start draining the water tank at the top of the property. I have been using that for the geese water, which has been working really well, but we actually want to move the goose structure over to where the water tank is currently sitting.
So by emptying it out, it will mean that I can actually move it, and Sam can as well. And then once Sam gets back, we are going to take that water tank and put it up in the orchard area to make it a lot easier for me to water my trees over the summertime, because right now I have no easy access to get water to them all. I've just had an idea with this. Compost needs a lot of water, and right now I'm draining a lot of water into nothing. So I'm kind of thinking if I dump this in the compost bin behind me instead, which I was planning on making into a new compost pile, I can potentially use the water from the draining tank on this compost and make the process happen faster without wasting too much water. So I'm going to go do that. Okay. Don't be fooled by the new look. It just got really hot carrying compost back and forth around here. Almost done. I'm also going to be transplanting some tomato seedlings. You saw that I had a lot in some of my beds, and I also have some that I've started. So I'm going to start putting that in different places. I'm kind of considering putting some glass jars on it. So I might experiment with doing that to some and not others and see which ones take better. This will protect from bugs. It will also kind of act like a greenhouse on the cool nights, especially while it's still cold in springtime, and maybe also protect from wind damage if we ever get winds again, which is very likely because spring is a very windy season down here on the south coast. So I can see that the tomatoes have different leaves, and that's because there's a couple of different varieties in here. So I'm going to do my best to guess which one is of what variety. Oh, I don't know. I think that's the same as those ones. So. You may notice that my garden is really sparsely planted with things like radishes, and same goes for things like beetroot. Like you can see my first seedling coming up now. And the reason for this is that I'm trying to successionally sow them this year because I never really need that many beetroots or radishes at one time. So it makes sense to only have a few available that I can cook with. So as soon as I see a seedling pop up or I see them taking off, then I plant the next lot of radishes, carrots, or beetroots. And that way I don't have too many at one time. I think it's also time to finally harvest all this leek so that the onion bulbs can really take off with no competition. Of course, they will grow back, and I hope that they do. I think I might preserve it into a relish or something similar. So yeah, let's do it. Oops. I went to move this esky and there's just a little frog in there. What? I don't know how he survived, but he's gorgeous. Move, Eris. So sorry, little dude. I've got to tip you out though. Like the little ecosystem you made for yourself there. You out? Oh my gosh, I was so interested in the frog, I didn't see these giant worms. Wow. I also noticed that my rhubarb actually has a second plant that's kind of off to the side, and rhubarb grows prolifically when it gets a chance. So I'm kind of thinking I might take that up to the food forest up at the top of the property. We have lots of new trees there as well, and I might start adding more plants over there to start building that out and start to create more of an ecosystem. I mean, I have plenty of soil just sitting around. That area needs a little bit of love this season as well, so I think it's going to be a really great idea. So this is our orchard area. Let me tell you some of the things that are planted. So we have strawberry guava, which I have on either side, and I will have kind of like a archway. Apricot, another apricot, two different varieties. Behind it, a nectarine. That lovely tree is a cherry, and behind it is a new apple, which is a red delicious. Bay leaf. Wow, busy bees. Busy, busy, busy. Whoa, I hope we're not all swarming. This is the new bee area, so we've got the water fountain, the bee waterer in, and this will be a lovely flower garden as well. Flowers, I've got everlasting daisies, I believe, and possibly something else at the front here. This one is a pear, and we've got two pears grafted together, and then a dwarf green apple. That's the orchard so far. Maybe one day it'll extend all the way out over there. For now, this is it. I reckon we'll plant one here. Has there a whole bloody rock there? Jesus, that's a big rock. I reckon the bees are that busy because they know there's rain coming again and it's their only opportunity. And mulch on top. I think when you're trying to tackle a big project like a food forest, the best thing you can do for yourself, but also the forest, is just to plant a little bit at a time, rather than planting all your trees, all your shrubs, all your ground covers and everything into your food forest at once and overwhelming yourself. Just take it a little bit at a time. Let your trees settle in, add some shrubs here and there. Really take the time to think about what your sunlight is doing, but also what you want the space to look like in the end. There's always this urge to do more straight away so that it can become the food forest of your dreams right away. But honestly, there's something so special about seeing each tree thrive slowly, really getting to love it and see it grow, and then adding that next step. But my goodness, these bees are going crazy. Oh, maybe it's baby bee season. They're all learning to fly. Wow. The buzzing around is so nice. I love bees. They've been such a pleasure. So busy.
Stay.